Utopia Engine. This is a free print and play game, which is one of the lightest games that I've ever printed. It's incredibly easy to build. You print the rules, and then to play the game, you print these 2 sheets of paper, and that's it. You do not have to cut, glue, anything. This is a dice game that will require these 2 sheets of paper to play, dice, and a pencil with an eraser. That's all it takes. There's a fantasy game in which you play the role of a wizard that is trying to activate this ancient and mysterious engine called the Utopia Engine. There are 6 parts of that engine that are lost in 6 locations on the board on this map here. You will travel from location to location. You will look for those parts of the construct. You also need to find some materials such as lead, quartz, or silica. Once you have all of the components and you have the materials, you will try to reassemble the engine, and to do that you need to travel to your studio, to your workshop, represented on this other sheet of paper, and you will work first to activate each piece of the engine, and then you also need to connect the pieces together, and finally you need to activate the engine. However, it is not that first you will search for all the pieces and then you will activate them all, because activating a component of the engine gives you advantages. So you'll probably want to look for some, activate some, go back, continue your search, taking advantage of the benefits that you have from the activated components, and so on and so forth until you're dead. Well, no, until you have activated the engine and you win the game, but that's not gonna be easy to achieve. I know I'm very, very, very far from figuring out how to win this game. This is a tough solitaire game, which is great replay value. And yeah, why are you activating this Utopia Engine, by the way? Well, because the apocalypse is coming and the Utopia Engine is the only thing that can stop it. There is another device that is working so far in this fantasy world here, which is the God's Hand, but it is not working all that hard. That device can do for now is to delay Doomsday. Here you have a time track. Depending on the actions that you will perform in the game, time will pass. Some actions will consume more time. You simply cross off a box for each day that passes. When you cross off a box that is next to one of these skulls, then the game is over. Apocalypse has arrived, and that's it. You lost the game. But there are ways to fill these boxes here, which represent the energy that can be stored in the God's Hand device. Then you spend these levels of energy to cross off some of the skulls. So if you're crossing off a day box by a skull that you have crossed off, that's okay, because you are delaying Apocalypse. It is when you cross off a box that is next to an uncrossed off skull that the game is over. A defeat. Here you have hit points that you will lose when you encounter monsters and you lose a fight against them, but also assembling the Utopia Engine is very dangerous. Components will blow up in your face, they will release uncontrolled energies, and those will be extremely dangerous. You can die as you assemble the components, just as you can die when you're fighting against monsters here in the wild. Now, at the beginning of the game, there's only one action that you can perform, which is to travel. You can travel from location to location looking for the components. So you choose a location, and each location can give you, well, each location has somewhere in there a piece of the construct. For example, this location here has the golden chassis hidden somewhere in here. A type of component, here's silica, and then there is a treasure that a very powerful monster in this location has. When you travel to a location and you start searching, you cross off a circle in that location. You simply cross off or fill in one of these bubbles here each time that you perform a search location in that area. If the bubble that you filled in has a -1, then you cross off a day in the time track. Some days will have an E that represents event cycles. When you cross off a box from the time track with an E, then you roll 4 dice, or 2 dice several times, on the event cycles table. And you write down the numbers that you rolled in these boxes here. For example, I rolled a 5 and 4, and 1 and 2. These event cycles represent modifications that apply to specific areas. So these modifications may make the monsters more active, searches more easy. As you can see, each area is connected to a number. So until the next event cycle strikes, and these numbers will be modified by, changed by rolling more dice. Then until then, searching in area 1, it is easier. Searching in area 5, it is more dangerous because the monsters are more active. Things like that. I don't need to explain the details to you. I want to give you the concept that the locations are not the same for the entire game. That changes from time to time, and that gives a little more unpredictability to the game. But I'm in the Grass Rock Canyon. I spent a day to do my first search. Now it is time to search. How do you search? Well, you choose one of these boxes here, of these groups of 6 boxes, doesn't matter which one really, and you start rolling dice. You roll 2 dice, you look at the results, and you can write the 2 results. Suppose I'm working here. You can write the results in any of these 6 boxes. Suppose, for example, that I'm going to write a 6 here, and a 1 here. Oh, here we have another 6, and I write it there, and we have a 4, which I write here. 6 and 3. 6 and 3. What am I trying to do? Well, I need to roll until I fill in all of these boxes. After this, I subtract the number below from the number above, and the difference gives me the result of my search. And what I'm trying to do is to get a number which is as small as possible. In this case, for example, I have 15, which is good, but not enough. Why? Here is a table that tells you the search results. If you have from 100 to 555, or minus 1 to minus 555, then you have an encounter. If you have from 11 to 19, which is what I got now, you find a component. So you find a material related to that area. I had the silica here. Then that's what I found with a 15. If you have 10 or less, which is what I'm trying to do, 0 or 210, then you find a piece of the construct. You find a piece of the construct related to the which you were searching. In that case, I would have found the golden chassis, which I didn't. So I got a component. Could have been worse, could have been better. But I want to search again. I fill that in, and I repeat the process with another box here. If I've used all of the 6 areas here and I still haven't found my construct, then I can spend an extra day and I found the piece of the construct automatically. Not great. But what happens if your result is an encounter? Then you look at the encounter chart. The amount of points that you had, the number that you had as a result from your search, tells you the level of the encounter. Then you simply look at the location in which you are. I was here, the level of the encounter, and that tells you the type of monster that you encounter. Suppose that I messed up by 200 something point, then I got the Glasswing Drake and I had to fight that monster. It's very simple. You roll 2 dice. For each number that you roll that is equal to one of the numbers printed here, something happens. For each one that you roll, for example, in this case, the enemy scores a hit against you. If you roll a 6, then you hit the opponent. Here, nothing happens, and you simply keep repeating the process until you or the opponent dies. In this case, the 1 means that I lose a hit point, but I also rolled a 6, and then I kill the enemy, and the encounter is over. You keep repeating until one or both of you in the fight, well, it's not there anymore. This is pretty much the general idea. Well, after you destroy an enemy, actually, then you see if the enemy drops a component, then you roll a die, and if you roll a number which is equal to or less than the level of the enemy that you defeated, you will get a component for the region, usually. So the higher the level of the enemy, the more likely it is that the enemy will give you some benefit after you defeat the enemy. If you defeat an enemy that is level 5, then the enemy drops the treasure for the area in which you were looking. And some of these treasures have extremely good benefits. Now, when you have your components and you want to activate them, you move to your studio and you will start working on these areas here, one for each type of component that you're trying to activate. You're trying to fill with energy this column here. How do you do that? Well, you start working on your activation and you start working first on this field here. You roll 2 dice and you place the numbers in any box of the field that you were trying to activate. For example, here I have a 4 and a 3 and I choose to place them there. Then I have a 1 and a 4. When I have 2 of the same number in a column, that resets the column and you simply erase it like that. That's a good way to get rid of numbers that you do not want. I still have a 1 here, that I place it here. Again, when I have 2 numbers, one on top of the other, I place the 3 there, so that erases that column, that resets that column, and then I have, oh, here's the 3 that I rolled, and here's the 6 that I rolled, and I place a 6 here. What I'm trying to do is to put numbers in columns so that when I subtract the one at the bottom from the one on top, I have as high numbers as possible. I'm trying to get 5s and 4s. If I have a 5, then that column produces 2 points of energy. 6 minus 1 is 5, that's the ideal result. If I have 4, then that produces a point of energy. Any other result, suppose that I end up with this, any other result that is not a 4 or a 5 is a lock. That column cannot be used anymore and the component explodes in my face. Well, it just releases energy such that it gives me a point of damage. That can happen quite easily. So, you lose points of damage as you fight, as you try to activate the components and you mess up. Suppose that you use the field and you haven't been able to fill this column here, then you can work on this other field here. If you fail again, you can spend a day to activate the component automatically. There's then another procedure once you have all of your components ready to activate the links between the parts, and to activate the links you will need the components like silica, lead, quartz that you also find in your adventures, in your searches. I wouldn't worry about the process for the links anytime soon because it is so hard to get the components and to activate them that you do not need to learn about that anytime soon. Trust me, you need to play the game and you will lose a couple of times or many times before you even have to worry about this. And then I think you don't have to worry about anytime soon is about the fact that when the construct is, all the parts of the construct of the Utopia Engine are active and all linked, you still have to turn the bloody machine on. That's gonna be hard too. If you manage to do that, you win the game. But again, don't worry about that too early because this is a very tough game to beat, really tough. The other things that can help you, the treasures, the parts of the construct, there are items that you start with that also can help you. You really need to learn what the special items can do so you can go after items, after treasures, and you can use them for later parts in the game. There is an order in which things probably need to be done. I'm trying and starting to figure it out, but extremely tough game to play. Well, let me correct that. Not tough to play at all. Extremely tough game to win. As you can see, this is a very economic game, really. The poor man's Solitaire. Look also how well designed it is. When you're traveling, you put your studio, the workshop underneath, and here you have the column for the encounters, and then you can slide, and here you have a column in which you keep track of the items and constructs that you have. When you go to your workshop, you change, things like that. So that here you have your workshop, and here you still have the time track, the Doomsday device, and the other components. Very nicely designed. The graphics are nice. And if you think that you don't pay a thing for this, well, then you think you really have a good product here. Yes, because the game is free to print and play. Very, very good game, very good package. For such a simple dice game, it gives you a great challenge. I played a couple of times, maddening experience because I just kept losing. I'm nowhere close to winning the game. Nice challenge, easy to carry around. Yes, a game that you can easily play on an airplane, which is what I did. It fits perfectly on the little table of an airplane, full of challenges, strategies that emerge. You have to figure out the best way to combine numbers here and on the other page. And as you can see, the challenges of finding the components and activating the components and activating the parts of the constructs are different. Things are not too abstract thanks to the special items, the special powers that you can activate, thanks to the fact that the locations are not always the same. This is a game that has a lot of great things, not an extremely complex game as a fantasy adventure. Clearly this is not something that has, I don't know, beauty in the components, not a D&D game, but a little bit abstract, with some luck involved, but with enough strategy involved that you will want to figure out strategies. Nice challenge, fun solitaire. It doesn't cost a thing. You can't beat the price. So definitely a good game. Great package, great deal. Print out your copy, try it, especially if you enjoy very hard solitaire games. This is a game that I enjoyed a lot.